So our sales is basically the revenue. Sales, or what we term in this case, is the revenue, what we are getting by selling the produce in the market. So simply stated, your total revenue is equal to price into the quantity which is sold. So this gives us the total revenue. Price into the quantity sold. Price per of the product in the market multiplied by the quantity which is sold by the producer is the total revenue. Now this total revenue, it will behave differently under different market forms. In our session on market forms, where we have understood about perfect competition, imperfect competition, which comprises mainly of monopoly, monopolistic, oligopoly, duopoly and all those market forms. I hope you have revised them, because we will be requiring that knowledge to understand the behavior of revenue in different market forms. Now let us take the first case of perfect competition. Perfect competition. Let's little bit revise what is perfect competition. An imaginary situation where we are assuming that there are infinite buyers and sellers. Everyone is selling the same type of product and no single individual buyer or seller can influence the price in the market. So the price remains the same. The factors of production are perfectly mobile. There is no advertisement costs and everyone is free to enter and exit from the market. So those are the characteristics of a perfect competition. Now under perfect competition, since no individual seller or buyer, they can influence the price, so the price in the market remains the same. Let us take this as an example. Let us take the output in terms of units 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 units. Let us take the price per unit. This is in rupees. Let us assume this certain thing is costing 5 rupees. This is per unit. So if a seller is trying to reduce the price by supplying more, the other sellers in the market will also start reducing the price, and it will lead to a cutthroat competition situation where nobody will then gain anything by reducing the price in the market. So under perfect competition, each seller has to sell at the price which is available in the market, because ultimately he will not gain by reducing the price, because then other sellers will also decrease the price. So whatever price is available in the market, the sellers will try to sell it at that part only. So price per unit becomes rupees 5 for these number of units. So our total revenue in this case becomes price into quantity 5, 10, 15, 20 and 25. So this becomes our total revenue, price into output at each level. Now in this case, if we have to find the average revenue is your total revenue upon the quantity, which again comes to 5. So what we observe here is the price is the same as the average revenue in this case of perfect competition. Now if we have to take out the marginal revenue is equal to marginal revenue at n number of units upon marginal revenue at n minus 1 number of units. So from the total, marginal revenue in this case is 5, then 10 minus 5, 15 minus 10, 20 minus 15 and 25 minus 20. So in case of perfect competition, what we observe is price is equal to AR is equal to MR. This is what is important to note, that under perfect competition, the price AR and MR, all three are the same. So if we have to make this in the form of a curve, this side we will take the revenue on y axis and number of units on the x axis. So this will be a straight line parallel to the x axis, where this is your price which is equal to AR, which is equal to the marginal revenue. So marginal revenue price and average revenue are all straight parallel to the x-axis, because as we have observed here, no producer will be gaining anything by reducing its price. So, whatever price is available in the market, they will try to sell it at that price only. So, price is equal to AR is equal to MR is the condition for perfect competition, and this is how it is depicted in terms. Hello students, let us now see the table and the graph for imperfect competition for the revenues. Now, in this case, it is imperfect competition. Imperfect competition can be in case of monopoly or monopolistic competition. The slant of the curve in the cases will be a little different. In case of monopoly, it will be less elastic curve. In case of monopolistic, it will be more elastic curve. Now, in this case, we have shown the output from 1 to 5, the number of units. The price per unit, when we are selling 1 unit, the price is 3. When we are selling 2 units, the price is reduced a little bit to 2.5, and when we are selling 3 units, the price is reduced further to rupees 2, and so on. The total revenue in this case becomes, in first one number of unit is 3, then it becomes 2.5 into 2, which is 5, and then 3 into 2 6, 4 into 1.5 again 6, and 5 into 1 5. And the average revenue is the total revenue divided by the quantity, which again is the same as the price. So, we can say AR is equal to the price. AR is the same as the price. Now, what we observe here is, let us now calculate the marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is marginal revenue at n number of units minus the marginal revenue at n minus 1 number of units. So, total revenue at 1 unit remains 3, marginal revenue remains 3. Now, at 2 units, the total revenue is 5. So, total revenue 5 minus the previous total revenue, which is 3, gives us 2. So, the marginal revenue in this case becomes 2. In next case, 3 units pay, total revenue is 6. So, 6 minus 5 becomes 1. And in 4 number of units, 6 minus 6 is then 0, and at 5 number of units, 5 minus 6, this gives us minus 1. So, what we see here is the marginal keeps on decreasing, it is never increasing. So, in this case, our curve will be, this is y axis mein we take the costs, in this case we take the units. The total revenue is increasing, the total revenue keeps on increasing. What we see here is the AR is falling, AR keeps falling, this is the AR, and MR is below it. AR is falling, MR is below it, where and total is always increasing, and total is like, total revenue curve comes like this, and at this point where your total revenue is the maximum, that is the point where your MR is 0, where your total revenue is the maximum at this level. At that point the marginal becomes 0, and beyond this point, when total starts to fall, the marginal revenue becomes negative. So, this relationship please understand, when the total is following and it reaches, when the total revenue is increasing and it reaches the maximum point, that is the point where your marginal revenue will become 0, because that marginal is not adding anything to the total. That is why this becomes 0 at this point of time, and that total becomes, it is at its maximum at that level, and average constantly keeps on falling. Average can never be 0. Average will never be 0, it will be coming down, but marginal revenue will become negative and it will come down. So, what we understand from here is, in case of imperfect competition, in case there is monopoly or monopolistic, this will be the curve. The only difference between monopoly and monopolistic is that in case of monopoly, it will be less elastic curve, and in case of monopolistic, it will be a flatter curve. The AR curve in these market forms also represents our demand curve. In case of perfect competition, our AR curve was a straight line parallel to the x-axis. So that showed the perfectly elastic demand curve. So that AR curves is nothing but your demand curve. And here in this case, in case for example, in case it is monopoly, it will be a the slant will be higher, and this becomes your AR curve, and below it will be the MR curve. This is in case of monopoly. In case of monopolistic, it will be flat curve. This is the AR curve and this will be the MR curve. The point worth noting in these curves is in these cases, like this is monopolistic. What is common to all of this is the rate of slope of marginal revenue is twice the rate of slope of average revenue in all the cases. AR curve represents your demand curve in different market forms. Marginal revenue curve will always be below the average revenue curve. AR curve being a demand curve, it follows the elasticity of demand. In under monopoly, it is less elastic demand curve, therefore the AR curve is, that slope is more. In case of monopolistic, where we have more elastic demand curve, the AR curve is a little flatter. And similarly, in case of like if we take the other market forms, imperfect, simply stating, the AR curve slopes downwards, the MR curve comes below it, and the rate of slope of MR is twice as the rate of slope of average revenue. And AR curve is nothing but your demand curve under different market forms. And total revenue will keep on increasing till a certain point, then it starts to fall because of diseconomies of scale. And when it reaches the highest point, the MR is at the point 0, where total revenue is highest, marginal revenue at that point is 0, and beyond this point the total revenue starts to fall, and this is the point after which the marginal revenue starts becoming negative. So these are the revenue forms and revenue curves along with table which is explained in this under the revenue concepts under different market forms. Now please understand, these all forms are in the short run. Long run may all factors of production being variable, we can change the scale of operations and therefore all factors become variable. So in the long run, what we will have is a normal situation, not exceptional cases like the monopolistic. When he is earning a monopolistic can be earning abnormal profits also in the short or long period, because he has full control over the price and the quantity of the products, because he is the single seller. He holds the control over price and also the quantity. That is why he is able to manipulate the price also in the long run. But in the long run, in monopolistic, no single seller or buyer will be able to influence the price in the long period. In the short period, maybe because of the differentiation of the products, monopolistic person may be earning more profits in short duration. But in the long run, all the supernormal part of the profits will be wiped away and only what remains is a normal profit.